This is why you never ever pander to people like this. They will never be happy. And they will always dredge up the same damn fucking narrative each and every time. This, again, attacking Tolkien. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm back with another video, and I love the subheadline to this article, as Dungeons & Dragons goes through yet another period of corporate woes. Never mind that those corporate woes are the direct results from practices stemming from Wizards of the Coast themselves, pretty much. Never mind it's entirely on those fuckheads to begin with, from the smear campaigns against Gary Gygax's son, to the outright pandering to the demographic that never played the games in the first place and never cared to play the games in the first place until their every little fucking whim was bowed to. Never mind them screwing over authors, pretty much, by taking their work and deciding to bring it back without either their knowledge or consent, and screwing them over on any royalties they would get as a result. Never fucking mind all that. That's entirely on Wizards of the Coast. No, this guy, this dickhead here, Ben Bishop, is not going to dredge that up, is not going to bring that up in this article. No, he is going to concentrate yet again on the narrative, the Tumblr crowd, the ones that migrated from the Tumblr sphere to Twitter. He's going to repeat the narrative that J.R.R. Tolkien, and by extension Lord of the Rings, is racist. Again, this is why you never ever fucking pander to these people. But at any rate, let's just dive right into this article, right? Fantasy was infinitely changed by the Lord of the Rings novels written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay, I will preface this with, yes, Dungeons & Dragons is its own thing. Yes, Game of Thrones is its own thing. Pretty much, just to name a couple in the fantasy genre. But you cannot deny that J.R.R. Tolkien is the father of modern mythology, so you cannot really deny that there are influences from Tolkien in properties like Dungeons & Dragons, Game of Thrones, and so forth. Alright? Moving on. From the way that fantasy narratives were written to how the worlds were built, there is little that wasn't touched or altered by Tolkien. His novels marking out what fantasy would be for the next near century. However, this influence comes with downsides. Though Tolkien was quite progressive for his time, several of the ideas and implications in The Lord of the Rings were based upon antiquated, problematic, you drop that fucking word on ironically, you lose your entire argument. But again, Bishop here doesn't have a fucking argument to begin with, or outright racist ideas. Yes, let's just, again, push the narrative that Tolkien was racist. Never mind he told Hitler to go fuck off when the Nazis wanted Tolkien to basically prove that he was of pure German blood. That he didn't have any Jewish inheritance or ancestry in him. Never fucking mind that. No, it's based upon antiquated being universal messages and so forth, pretty much. But antiquated, problematic, or outright racist ideas. Go fuck yourself, Ben Bishop. Moving on. Enter Dungeons & Dragons, a fantasy-based role-playing game first published a mere 20 years after Tolkien's writing. Given the sweeping stranglehold that Lord of the Rings had over fantasy, it was only natural that D&D would mimic many of its aspects. However, it also kept many of Tolkien's ideas, making many of its characterizations and ideas non-inclusive and prejudiced. Though Dungeons & Dragons has seen more than its fair share of controversy, the results of these racist ideas still haunt it to this day. These people are never ever fucking happy. You don't pander to them because nothing will please them. You think you're going to please them by changing one aspect, they'll find another one to bitch about. These people were never fucking fans to begin with. But now you have the higher-ups at Wizards of the Coast thinking that they need to pander to that crowd to boost their sales, and they're now down millions, tens of millions of dollars. With more people canceling subscriptions to services as a result, again, of something else that Wizards of the Coast did to themselves, and that is change the open gaming license. But never mind all that, according to Ben Bishop. No, we gotta talk about Tolkien and how racist he was. Traditional fantasy has always included characters of various associations, from knights and paladins to witches and wizards. Tolkien's version was no different, and D&D followed suit. However, Tolkien introduced many of the class aspects as they exist today in D&D. Some are more complex, while others are subtle changes to the mythos. For one, Tolkien's Rangers were the clear inspiration for D&D's Ranger class. Alright? To those who have not read the books, Aragorn, also known as Strider, when we first meet him, Ranger. Or at least, Ranger at first, find out he's the future rightful king of Gondor later on. But anyway, though a journeyman, jack of all trades, has been a presence since fantasy immemorial, Tolkien's Rangers, with their being a sort of fantasy cowboy with some inspiration from World War II soldiers, clearly influenced D&D's version. Likewise, Tolkien's wizards were heaped in study and learning, owing in part to the man's fascination with language and his getting back to the basis of the group. I wouldn't say their inspirations come from World War II necessarily, alright, because moving on, I'm not going to go into that. Finally, Tolkien almost certainly invented the rogue class as it is used in D&D, as thieves in Tolkien's world are best as halflings, a common pairing in D&D to this day, and not inherently bad, much like in D&D. Alright? So, to basically say, hey, I'm not going to just attack Tolkien outright, I'm going to show the positive influences here, but then again, he goes down to, here, the Essentialism rules Dungeons & Dragons races, pretty much. This is where he, again, dredges up that same fucking tired false narrative. The problematic portion, again, using that buzzword unironically, just nulls and voids your argument, whatever lack thereof there is, portion enters when looking into the concept of essentialism, which states that all members of a group do or believe something simply because of what they are. Class alignment. Always been a fucking thing. Get over it. Right? Each race has inherent abilities and personality traits. Get the fuck over it. Common stereotypes like all girls loving pink and all drow being evil fall into this. This belief that a group of beings, or as Tolkien in D&D called them, a race, yeah, because they are different species, they are different races, can be essentially good or evil as well beyond antiquated. It's just racist. Yeah. Sometimes there is just simply good and evil. Get the fuck over it. Orcs likely receive the worst of this. Where other races have inherent qualities that make them in some ways good or interesting, orcs and Uruk-hai have two major qualities. They are black, green, or somehow non-white. Somehow non-white. This fuckhead is looking at orcs and seeing a black person. That's what he's doing. He's looking at orcs and Uruk-hai and so forth, and he's seeing black people. If you cannot look at an orc and just see anything but an orc, or an Uruk-hai, or a goblin, or any other race like that, if you cannot see the creature in front of you, and you see a black person, or insert minority here, you are the fucking racist, you are the bigot. And they are mean and gross. Look up the history of orcs and Uruk-hai in Tolkien's mythology, and you'll fucking understand why. Recent efforts across fantasy have attempted to avail orcs of this clear association with the horribly racist stereotypes of aggression in people of color, but orcs' racist undertones still remain throughout literature and are extremely prominent in D&D. Lord of the Rings undeniably influenced Dungeons & Dragons in ways both good and bad. In fairness to D&D, Wizards of the Coast has been making efforts to address the game's problematic aspects, and they are fucking failing miserably. They are fucking failing miserably. And I say that in two regards. One, because, again, these people will never ever be happy. And two, it's alienating the people who have been playing this game for decades. Because they are ignoring the original fans, they are ignoring the community that actually built up Dungeons & Dragons, and pandering to the demographic that just commandeered the fandom when their little egos were stroked. It recently announced plans to replace the antiquated term race in future D&D content, and newer books like Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel have celebrated diversity and the work of POC writers. Yes, because it's all about skin color, it's never about how talented the people are. Still, there have been missteps, such as Hadozi artwork in Spelljammer Adventures in Space that had to be removed due to its resemblance to racist blackface minstrel art. It is a race of apes, sentient apes. These people are looking at sentient apes and seeing black people. That's what they were doing. They were seeing black people. While the company announced additional steps to avoid future situations such as this one, the stink of a racist past is difficult to clean, even if it comes from a pedigree as celebrated as Tolkien. So there it is. There it fucking is, folks. Again, never ever happy. Never ever pander to this demographic. They will always find something to bitch about, and they will always dredge up the same old, tired, false narrative, because that's what it's about, folks. The narrative over reality to these people. Feelings over facts. But at any rate, what are your thoughts down in the comments below? Do you agree with this article? Do you disagree with this article? Do you play Dungeons & Dragons? If so, what edition if you still play it, what edition do you play? What edition did you stop at? Why? All that fun stuff down in the comments below. I will be live later on Twitch later on this evening, probably playing some Destiny 2. Haven't decided yet, but we will see. Probably around 7:30 p.m. Eastern, thereabouts. So tune in for that. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Share on social media if you will. This is Marjade. Catch you on the dark side. And CBR stands for Certified Beyond Hard R. Fucking hell.